Okay, I'm Kelly Mitchell.
And I'm Debra Traven.
And we're
Women on YTV.
It's great to have you back, Debra. It's been a while since we've been recording, so I'm really excited to get back into the groove and super excited about our guest today, because our guest today is actually a sponsor of our fabulous Women on Wine Adventures, which we're headed to San Diego, and that's right around the corner here. November 12th, we'll be down in Temecula and San Diego, but I'd love to welcome Ginger Wilcox to the show. Ginger, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me. This is fun. This is my first blab.
Oh, it's wonderful to have you here, and we're great to be responsible for corrupting you into the blab way of streaming. So, Debra, we always begin with a quote.
Yes, we do. Do you have one?
Yes. So the word today for the episode is Sindeo.
Woo!
Woo! Or fintech. We actually have two words for this episode.
Oh, okay.
And the quote for this show, and when you do hear either of those words or phrases, fintech is actually one word, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Sindeo, of course, is a company name, fabulous company that's changing the landscape of financing. But when you hear one of those words, take a sip of whatever's in your glass. And we'll get to the glasses in just a moment, but we begin with a quote. No matter how you feel, get up, dress up, show up, and never give up. And that is actually anonymous. I have no idea who did that, but wanted to share that. And so let's start with our guest today, Debra. What do you say?
I say yes. What's in your glass, Ginger?
In honor of your polka dots, Debra, since I always think of polka dots, I have my polka dot glass here. This is a plum check cab.
Ooh.
From Napa Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Sounds fabulous. And how about Debra? What's in your glass?
So let's see. In my beautiful Juliana glassware, stemware, this is the new abstract she just sent me. I love it. Inside there is one of my favorite Cab Francs here in Washington. This is the ALIAS 2009. Okay, this puppy is all about tobacco and black pepper with a little clove at the end. It is screaming delicious on the tongue. And the winemaker is super witty. And so Barrage, actually, he has this like little quippy thing on the back that basically said what Barrage is when he was starting the winemaking process, he was kind of creating where it was happening. And it kind of turned out to be the cross between a barn and a garage, thus Barrage.
I love it.
Yep.
Love it.
BarrageCellars.com and at Barrage Cellars on Twitter, although they're not super engaged on Twitter. If we tweet them, they might change their mind.
Awesome. And I've got a Juliana glass as well, a new Pinot Noir glass, I might add. Fabulous, very sexy glass with a delicious Pinot Noir in hand. And I will tell you, this is a 2014 Old Soul. This is my Lodi day, so I am Old Soul today. And you see this in more than one episode, and it is because this Pinot Noir is so fantastic. I went to Lee Summit, Missouri, aka Misery, to me, but I lived there for like 7 months, went into a wine store, found this on the shelves from Lodi, California. What are the chances of that? And they said it's the highest seller. They sell out of it. They've sold like 52 cases since they started bringing it on board, which is insane. They were just a little wine shop in a little teeny tiny town in Missouri.
Now.
Anyway, it is bold, light on the tannins, very fruit forward. Definitely has a little blackberry and maybe some black cherry in there.
Ooh, delicious.
Cheers to you, ladies.
Cheers, yes.
And all of you out there. And so, we have to sip before we can talk.
Hey, I see David in the room. Yep, I'm repping Washington wine. You know it.
So we'll probably hold, guys, because we're recording right now, we're probably going to hold the questions until we stop recording. So we'll just get through this little space. So we have a really smooth action here, like the wine that is in our glasses. And Let's see, we want to start with opening up with Ginger and hearing what Sindeo is and how you're changing the landscape of finance for consumers and for the industry.
Sure. So Sindeo is a San Francisco-based mortgage startup, which I joined last December before we launched. We launched in January of this year at a big real estate conference in New York City. And we're really focused on trying to bring technology to the mortgage process and make it much more efficient and ultimately to try and make it not suck. I think if you've ever been through the mortgage process, you know how paper driven it is and how antiquated the process is. And it's pretty incredible if we think about how technology has shaped so many things in our lives, but this process and really a lot of the regulated industries haven't necessarily changed dramatically. So that's what Sindeo is trying to do. We've been growing quite aggressively. Actually, I just found out about 15 minutes ago, we just got licensed in the state of Texas. So that adds our sixth state.
Woo woo!
That's amazing.
Yeah, we're very excited. It's obviously a big one, and we'll be opening an office in Houston in the first part of 2016, but we'll be licensed in 30 plus states by the end of the year. So super excited about that.
Wow. Debra, question.
Wow.
Right?
So how does one go about getting licensed in all these different states? Is there a whole team of people, or is there one magician who's doing this? It sounds amazing.
It's quite a process. There's a number of different ways you can do it that you obviously can partner with somebody. There's charter banks that you can partner with, but we've taken a step of going state by state to get our licenses, which is a team of people that are very focused on getting those licenses. It's different state by state, and it's quite complicated, but it allows us a lot of independence to be independently licensed, not working with anybody else as we do that. There are some states that are a little more complicated than others, but particularly because you have to have, being a financial institution, obviously there are a lot of regulations and controls around who can actually be licensed to do business. And so that means that all of our board of directors, many of whom are are based in other places. We've got investors and board of director members in Switzerland and in Beijing, and they all had to be fingerprinted and licensed.
Wow.
It's been quite a process. It's been really interesting for me because I hadn't seen it on this side, but we're really excited now. Now we're starting to see that process really speed up and roll, and that's perfect timing for us as we get ready to do a big 2016.
Incredible stuff. Very excited about Sindeo's play in the real estate space. I think it's going to change everybody's idea of how the process is, and also make lives better for agents as well as brokers and those in the industry that are overseeing those latitudes. The question I have is, there was a recent story that you pointed out, and it was so poignant because it pointed to the very problems that exist in the real estate, and beyond the, just getting what we hope are always simple approvals, but into something that you literally changed somebody's life. Can you share a little bit about and give some insights on that story? Because I think that's very powerful.
Yeah, so we actually, yesterday morning, our social media manager logged onto our Facebook page and saw a review from a customer that we had just closed with. And this particular customer was trying to refinance their house and had been working with various companies over a 9-year period of time. So very long time, very discouraged by the process, and came across Sindeo. And we were able to complete the refinance on their property and give them a much better rate. But ultimately for them, they felt like it really changed their financial security and stability because we were able to put them in a long-term loan program for them, which I think it says a lot about what we're trying to do. The feedback that we had from that customer is that everybody that they worked with was to some extent very self-serving and wasn't about trying to figure out how to get a solution that's right for them. And I think that oftentimes we think about startups as trying to disrupt something in a way that maybe puts people out of business, but we think about it very differently. We think about technology as enabling better communication, enabling more choices. And for this particular customer, because we have a marketplace of a lot of different lenders that fit different loan types, we were able to get them into something, and honestly brought tears to my eyes when I read their story because it really changed their life. And that's what you live for in a startup.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you're hitting all the right pain points too in the industry, and just creating a different life for people. To take that stress away is absolutely magical. Debra, question, and then we're going to move on to adventure time.
Well, I think I have a really good segue.
Ooh.
Yes, right. So I loved how you took a different spin on disruption, because that term is so overused, right? In the media, disruptor of the year. One of the things that we've actually experienced with Sindeo and with you in particular, Ginger, is that you look at the industry differently. And so you're getting involved in different ways. And one of them, of course, is the wine adventure. Like, you're actually looking to build relationships in a different way, in a different level. So let's kind of talk about that. Like, what did you think when, we kind of first came to you and said, hey, want to come drink wine and network with a bunch of real estate agents? What went through your head?
Honestly, when we first talked about it, I was a little intimidated to go because I spend a lot of time out networking, and I'm very social. I'm also a little bit shy sometimes when I first kind of get in a group. And so it was a little nerve-wracking for me on that first day because I knew I didn't really know a lot of the people that were there. But this business is such a people business. And although we're introducing technology, the relationships that you build are about people. And whether they're through something like this, where we get a chance to communicate via technology, or whether it's face-to-face, I think that's something that's super important. And particularly for a new brand, we're brand new to the industry. We're trying to solve a really complex problem that is not easy, and one in a place where people have completely lost trust in kind of the financing process. So for me, when I looked at what we were trying to do, it was a great opportunity to get in front of people and really explain what we're trying to do, because it's not something that you can necessarily do in 140 characters. We're tackling a number of different things all at one time, and we're trying to put them all together. And so it was far better than I expected. I knew it would be great, but it was just a great opportunity to get in front of people and have a lot of fun doing it too.
Absolutely love that. Love that. From the standpoint of going on this adventure, when we take these wine adventures, we have this rule that we don't tell anybody where we're going, because we love for it to be a surprise. And even we had somebody on our first trip to Sonoma and Napa that had already been to one of the wineries that we went to, and they said still the experience was vastly different from what they experienced as an individual, and kind of changed their view of how a wine tour, so to speak, would be done. What was your perspective on the experience overall itself as an individual? I mean, you live in wine country, so it's, you go there quite a bit. Did it change any of your perspectives on that first adventure?
Yeah, it was, I'd actually been to a couple of the wineries, but I would say that my experience on this trip was nothing like going as an individual. Being in a group, we had an opportunity to see rooms and areas that I haven't seen before. And so that was fun. And I think it creates just a very different dynamic when you have a group of, I was going to say 30 women, but I guess there were two. We had two guys on the trip too, who were having a good time being with all the ladies. But it was really interesting to see a different side of some of the wineries and be able to get that very personalized tour. I had an absolute blast. As a matter of fact, about a week after, I had a previous wine trip planned with some family members. My brother-in-law was celebrating a 50th birthday, and we had to make a trip back to Raymond because we had such a great time.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely love that. Debra, question.
We love Raymond too. We love Gina. Well, what was interesting is that while we're on the luxury coach, as we like to call it, because we don't like to use bus.
Yes.
You had an opportunity to kind of share about Sindeo and kind of share what that whole thing was about. Like, give your perspective on that. I can imagine just getting started with that. You're like, okay, yay, I really want to talk about my company, but we're sitting in this space. So how did it feel? And what was the feedback that you got from the other adventurers?
Yeah, I tend to be a little bit understated in terms of I'm not a big I probably don't pitch enough sometimes, but it was so in being in that environment where it was very casual and having the opportunity to talk to everyone. The thing that I found really interesting is that at every stop that we had, people were coming up to me and obviously they were thanking us for sponsoring, but everybody wanted to learn more. And being in that environment where we had wine and we had appetizers, there was it just fueled conversation in a much deeper way than you'd have at a really busy cocktail party or another place. So it was, for me, it was one of the best opportunities that I think I've had as a sponsor, to be able to really engage people on a much deeper level and talk about what we're doing.
It seems like it created lasting relationships, what I think it was a surprise to us initially, because we thought we're going to go out, we're going to have fun, we're going to talk a little business, we're going to focus on the wine. And the friendships that came out of that kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting because I've had people who have approached me for business partnerships, which is super exciting. I've had people who are like, we love what you're doing. We'd love to work with Sindeo, which is really exciting as well. And then obviously I've had people from all over the country who were at that event who are saying, when you come to my market, we can't wait to help you. So I think that there's a lot that happens when you have that opportunity to kind of break bread, drink wine, and have real conversations.
Absolutely.
Well, one of the reasons when Kelly and I were kind of talking about how we could serve the real estate space with this venture, right? So we're on this new journey. We've married things that we're passionate about and that fill our purpose. And we're thinking, how can we still keep connected with the real estate space? Because of course we love it. And one of the biggest, I'd say the biggest issues we were having with the big conferences is that the networking was based around a lot of parties, a lot of drinking, not wine tasting. And so, we would get people who would say, gosh, I know I met somebody last night, but I can't really remember what I talked about, or I lost the business card, and so
you can hear them.
Right. Like the struggle is real at these events because it's just like one right after another. And even if you just try to stick to a glass, by the end of the night, you're like, woo! And so we really wanted to kind of create an opportunity that allowed people to still cut loose a little bit with the courage juice called wine, but build that next level relationship. And we had a lot of people afterwards say, it was so cool learning about Sindeo. Like they'd kind of heard the name, or they'd seen you on like New Kids on the Block on stage, and they were trying to figure out, what is this about? So super, just really, really fun. As far as I don't know, what was your favorite part of the adventure? Like that's one of my favorite questions. It's like, we saw 4 places. Woo! Like, what was your fave?
They all were so unique and different. I really enjoyed all of them. At Raymond, the gardens were so awesome, and taking our photos outside was really cool. But then the being in that red room was amazing. At Buena Vista, I've never been there, and that place is over the top. That was really, really cool to be in. Everybody was trying on the hats, and I think that was a perfect spot for the end of the day because everybody was having, just by that time, after a few glasses of wine and champagne, people were having a great time. But I think all of it was. I think it was less to me. We went to amazing places. There's no shortage of amazing wineries, but it was about the conversation that we had ultimately, and even on the bus, it was luxury coach. Even on the luxury coach, it was people were chatting and changing seats, and it was just a lot of fun.
Excellent. Am I feeding back to anybody else?
Yes, all of a sudden.
Oh, are we getting Google how's that? Is that better?
So much better now. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, turn down the volume a little bit. So might be an idiosyncrasy from Blab. Ginger, I would like to hear, as we wrap this up, I would love to hear why people need to reach out to Sindeo to explore their financial options, and what states you're in right now, what's coming online soon.
Yeah, I think, in a nutshell, we believe that financing doesn't have to be difficult. And whether you're a consumer who's looking to refinance, you're a first-time home buyer, there are a lot of options. And I think that the tendency today is that it's a very rate-driven experience, but there's a lot of factors that go into thinking about affordability and financing. And it shouldn't be a painful, horrific process. And if you're in the real estate business, obviously the partner that you have on the mortgage side is critical to getting you closed on time. So we think that all of that can be much better, and a true partner in that is helping you think about the entire spectrum, from very beginning, planning very early on how to be able to not only find the right loan, but one that you can actually afford and be very, very comfortable that you're getting what you think you should be getting, but ultimately make that process as seamless as possible. So we are currently licensed in California, Oregon, Washington, D.C., Colorado, Arizona, and Texas as of about an hour ago. And licensed and fully operating are two different things. We will be licensed in 30 plus states by the end of the year and operating in most major metros by the end of next year.
That is so exciting. So at Sindeo on Twitter, Sindeo.com, that's Sindeo. And you want to wrap this for us, Deb?
I think just one more quick question. Is there a way that consumers can watch and find out when their state it has been licensed? Is there kind of like a watch page or a RSS feed they can sign up for? What's the easiest way to keep an eye?
That's a great question. Well, I guess probably the easiest way is on our licensing page. We have a page that I think it's Sindeo.com/licensing that has all of our licenses, but definitely follow our Twitter feed, follow our blog, and we'll be definitely sharing the news. We actually have a really big announcement tomorrow that I'm very excited about. So that'll be coming out tomorrow morning at, I think it's 5 o'clock a.m. Pacific time. So stay tuned for that.
Ooh, that's fantastic. I love teasers. Well, yes. I kind of like teasers. I really want to know now, but I love teasers.
I should be having champagne right now, but I went for red wine instead.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll be sure to celebrate.
That is awesome.
In Temecula, we'll be sure to have some kind of bubbly with us for sure. So I think that's a wrap. Thanks, everyone, for joining us tonight. And, as always, we love having chats with you. So if we talked about something, shared a wine that you love, or you have a wine that you want to share with us, feel free to tweet us out, send us a note on Instagram or Facebook. We are at Women on Wine TV across the board. Our hashtag is #WomenOnWine, and we always love keeping the conversation going in between shows and blabs and sips. So cheers to you, ladies.
Salute.
Salud.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, and we'll see you very, very soon.